Hello everyone, a very good evening to all of you. My name is Shantanu Rana, and today I am going to take this live session on business English, where we will be discussing a lot of things related to interviews, how to attend business calls, how to make presentations, what are some lingos, some jargons which are used in the professional journey of anyone. So, all those things we are going to discuss one by one, but before we actually jump onto these topics, I want a quick confirmation in the chat. Please let me know in the chat whether I'm clearly audible, visible, or not. Please let me know. Hello, Raju, Raparathi. Perfect, guys. Please let me know in the chat box whether my screen is visible clearly or not. I am clearly audible to you guys or not. Once you'll confirm, we'll directly start with all these topics. Right? Yes, thank you, Aksh, Kalyani, Dhruv. Perfect, guys. Thank you so much for confirming. So, I want all of you to be very, very interactive in the chat box. Whatever I'm asking, whatever doubts you have, please use the chat box. I'll be, looking at the chat box after every 5-10 minutes. And whatever questions you will be asking me, I'll be replying to all those questions in this particular session. Right? Perfect. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Hi, Dinkar, Nikki, Sahana, Yatin. Perfect. Irfan, hi everyone. Yes. Perfect. So before we start, let me just give you a quick agenda that what all I'm going to cover in this particular session so that you are also clear how the content is going to flow for this particular live session. Right, so as you can see, first thing that we will be discussing is introduction to business English, where I'll be telling you that how it is different from normal conversational English that we use in our day-to-day life, and what exactly is business English. Why do we need specific English, when we are talking about office setting or in the corporate world? Then the importance of business English, why it is important for us to know. Why can't we just normally talk in the regular language that we usually talk with our friends or maybe with family? What impact it has, that is something we will be looking at in the second part. Then we'll pick up one by one all these things. First of all, we'll start with attending job interviews, then writing business emails. How do you write mails? That will be part of your written English basically. Then business phone calls, then business English for negotiation. You are sitting in an interview, you have to negotiate about your salary, or you are sitting in some some other meeting with your clients and you have to negotiate about a particular thing. Then how do you negotiate in business English? That we will cover. Then making presentations, and finally business abbreviation. There are some jargon, some terms which are used in the business world that we'll be looking at the end of this course. So let's just directly start with this particular session, and I'm going to cover each of these things one by one. So let me introduce business English to you. So what is business English? As you can see, business English is a type of English used in professional situations such as international trade, finance, commerce, insurance, banking, and many other contexts. See, the thing is very, very simple. We generally talk to our friends or maybe with our family also in English, but that is a little different. We know each other. I know my friends. So whatever I am going to say, the message will not be extremely important. More important is the intention, because we understand each other. But when we go to a professional setting, it is always not important that we will be knowing about each other. Let's say you are talking to some stakeholder, you are talking to some client. You will never know about them. You do not know them personally. The only interaction between you and that person or that second party is the professional situation. So you do not know them personally. So you have to be very precise, very concise about what you are saying. You have to be correct and you have to be courteous at the same time, because your intention may not be very, very clear if you are not using the right tone, you're not using the right words. So all of these things come into the picture when we are talking in an office setting, because in an office setting we do not know each other personally. We are only at this professional platform where we are supposed to communicate with each other. And in order to communicate with each other without having any conflicts and without hurting somebody, we have to use certain terms, certain vocabulary which needs to be a little formal as compared to the English that we use in our day-to-day life. And that's all business English is about. It includes requirements for clarity, specific terminologies, and grammatical structures. The main goal of business English is to carry the message across and to reach an agreement. And that is not actually just about English, it is about any communication. Whenever you are communicating with somebody, what is the main aim of any communication? See, there's always one sender, one recipient, and there's a message. Recipient can be more than one as well. For example, if you talk at this situation, I am the sender, I am giving you the information, you are the recipient. As the audience, there are so many recipients that we have, and whatever I'm telling you, that is the message. So a sender will have to send the message to the recipient. Now what will we call that it is effective, or it is a good conversation, or it is a good communication? When can we say that? When whatever I'm trying to say is equal to whatever you are understanding. If those two things are same, that means the communication is effective. But if there is a mismatch between what I'm saying and what you are understanding, that means the communication is ineffective. The communication is incomplete. So in order to make sure that the communication is effective and is complete, we have to use business English in an office setting, so that each and everything is clear to everyone. Everyone is on the same page. There are no conflicts, there are no disputes, and everyone is courteous and they are understanding each other and working accordingly. So that is the main aim, to reach an agreement and to carry the message across, right? So this is something that should be very, very clear. This is something that I have already covered, but again we can touch upon this, that what exactly is the difference between your general, or you can say regular English, and business English. So general English, the usage of fundamental vocabulary and grammar is more prevalent in general English, which focuses on day-to-day speech. So it is more about your day-to-day speech, but business English is more comprehensive and more detailed. General English has more relaxed tone to it. It is more flexible, but business English can lead to new opportunities and empower people who want to advance in their career. We all know that in today's world, in this competitive world, English is one of the most famous languages that we have. You want to talk to somebody who's in some other country, English can be one of the first languages that will come to your mind. Right, so learning English is extremely important. It has nothing to do with how the situation, or how the situation is going to be. There should be one common language, especially when we are working with diverse teams. Companies are focusing on diversity, companies are focused on inclusion. In that case, we are dealing with clients from different countries, we are talking to people from different countries, we are working with our colleagues who are from different countries, who have different belief system altogether. So in order to communicate something effectively with all those people who are so different yet the same, we need business English, which has to be specific, and we have to make sure that we are not hurting somebody. Whatever we are saying is making sense to them as well. Let me give you a very simple example. Let's say you write a mail. If you write a mail to somebody who's from India, that will be a different structure. But if you are writing a mail to somebody who's in US, that may be a different structure. And similarly, if you are writing a mail to somebody who's in, let's say, who's from France, that mail will be different. The reason behind that is that we all, maybe Indians, people from US or people from France, we all have different belief system, different culture. So when you are writing somebody, or you are saying something verbally in a meeting, that has to be a little bit of different, and we have to make it has to make sense to the second party as well. So in order to complete this, in order to have no gap between what you are saying and what the other party is understanding, we need business English, right? And that is something I'm going to tell you in the importance of business English as well. That there's a famous quote by Bernard Werber, if you have heard about it, that between what I think, what I mean, what I say, what I believe I am saying, what you want to hear, what you think you hear, what you actually hear, what you understand, what you think you understand, what you do understand, there are 10 possibilities that we don't understand each other. You talk about any problem, any challenge in the business world, in the corporate world, the foundation of it is ineffective communication. If the communication is good, a lot of challenges, a lot of disputes, a lot of conflicts can be resolved. So in order to make sure that what you are saying, what you are thinking, you say the same thing, for that you need clarity of thoughts. And whatever you are saying, whether the other person is understanding it in the same way, or he is understanding it in some other way, that depends upon how effective you are with your words, how effective your communication is. To be a good communicator, you need two simple things. Number one, clarity of thoughts. Number two, clarity of words. If your thoughts are clear, your words will be clear. And if your words are clear, then you will be able to say, and you will be able to make the other person understand what actually you are thinking. And that is the main goal of business English. That is why it is extremely important. In a setting where we do not know each other personally, we do not know what can hurt somebody, what can be a triggering point for somebody. We have to be a little courteous, and we have to think about all the scenarios, their belief system, their principles, and based upon that, we have to say something so that it is not hurtful, it is courteous, it is making sense, and it is understandable. It is easy to understand for the other person, for the other team, or for the other party uh, with whom you are writing a mail, or maybe you are saying something verbally, you're presenting something. It is included with all those factors, right? Perfect. So I see till now there are no doubts as such, but if you guys have any doubts, please use the chat box. I see a lot of people are saying hi, Logesh, Priyansh, Rameshwar. Hello everyone, a very good evening to all of you. And I hope you are understanding all these things. If there is even a slightest doubt, please put it in the chat box and I'll be more than happy to help you all. Right? So now coming to the importance of business English, one thing, maintaining a competitive edge. In this world where each and every team is focusing on diversity, inclusion, we definitely need business English to give ourselves that competitive edge as an organization, as an individual. Then being able to negotiate. You must have solid language abilities to be able to negotiate effectively. You have to be firm, but at the same time, you have to be courteous. This is a skill that you learn with business English. Then giving feedback. These days, if you go to any organization, or let's say you are a fresher, you are already working in some organization, you will see that a lot of feedback has to be given. You will give feedback to maybe your manager will give feedback to you will give feedback to your peers as well. So how do you manage all of that? How do you give feedback? Now feedback can be of two types. It can be destructive and it can be constructive also. Now again, it is a skill. How do you give a constructive feedback? A constructive feedback is all about words, saying the same thing with easy words, with clear words, and with words which won't hurt the other party. So that is what constructive feedback is. So in order to give constructive feedback, you again need business English. You need English which is more sophisticated and more specific about a particular topic. Then etiquette and politeness. To build strong business relationships, you'll have to demonstrate good standards of politeness and respectability in your communication. That's what I was saying. When we are in a normal, apna regular, we are with our friends, or maybe with our, let's say, with our family, we understand them. We know how they think. We know what is their behavior. We understand their principles. So whatever we will say, it won't matter what words we are using. The main thing is our intention will be clear to them because they know us as a person. But when we are in a business setting, it is always not necessary that the other person will be understanding you as an individual. They just know you in an office setting. So it is very important to be polite, to show some etiquettes, and that will only help you in the business world. Now coming to each of these topics that we are going to discuss about job interviews, emails, and I'm going to tell you what are some sentences that you can use, what are certain things that you should definitely keep in your mind. So first of all, let's talk about attending job interviews. So there are some common interview questions which are asked in all the job interviews, such as tell me something about yourself, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, or why should we hire you? So how do you answer all these questions? Number one is tell me about yourself. So whenever these questions are asked, you don't have to say so many things. You just have to be very, very precise, and you have to say all the things which are relevant for the company. So first thing is tell me something about yourself. Right? So how will you tell about yourself? How will you introduce yourself? Never include any details which are not related to company or are not related to you. Never talk about your parents' occupation. My brother is doing this, my age is this, my marital status is this. Nobody cares about those things. Use this opportunity to say the actual things, such as your strengths, such as your skills, your technical skills, your knowledge based skills. If any projects you have worked upon, any work experience you have in the domain for which you are applying for the job, talk about those things. So when a question is asked about your introduction, that is extremely important. That will decide the tone of the rest of the interview. So in order to answer it properly, first thing, you introduce yourself just by telling your name, by telling where you are from, and then you start with your educational background. If there is any specific that you have done, let's say you scored 100 out of 100 in maths in 10th or in 12th, you can highlight that. Then talk about your skills, any knowledge based skills, any personality traits that you feel you are hardworking. Give a justification, but talk about those things. If you are applying for, let's say, a software engineer role, then knowing C++, Java, Python, all these things are going to help you. Then you can talk about that. You can talk about your technical skills too. If you are applying for a sales role and you know some sales, let's say you know some CRM, customer relationship management software, you know some other things about sales, you have skills such as empathy, you are jovial in nature, you can talk about those things. So talk about things which are relevant for the company, and then establish a relationship between your goals and the organizational goals, that this is what organization wants to achieve, this is what I want to achieve in my career, and align it with the organizational goals. And that's how you introduce yourself. After your introduction, generally two questions which are normally asked is about your strengths and about your weaknesses. Sometimes this question is combined together, that what are your strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes the interview will only ask you that what are your weaknesses. Never say that you don't have any weakness. Always point out what your weaknesses are. Because if you'll say that you don't have any weaknesses, that will just show the interviewer that you are not self-aware. Because we are all humans and we all have weaknesses. It's just that how you use certain types of words to say that. We will come to that after a few slides. I will be telling you what are some words, some sentences that you can use as it is. But as of now, how to answer this question, that what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. Number one, when you're talking about your strengths, you can talk about your knowledge based skills, you can talk about your personality traits, and you can also talk about your technical skills. If you have any technical skills related to a particular area, let's say you are applying for a video editor position and you know a particular software, talk about it, all those things. Then personality traits, you feel you are a very organized person, you are hardworking, you are smart working, you are a perfectionist, any of those things. If you want to talk about it in your strengths, you can mention it. Then in your weaknesses, always say something which is not going to affect your job profile. Let's say in the company's website it is clearly written that one of their core values is teamwork, and you go to the interview and you tell them that you are not a team worker, you work best alone, you cannot work with a team, and you have some anger management issue. If you will say that, definitely the interviewer will never hire you, because they'll know that okay, this is one thing that they are not comfortable with. They are saying that it is their core value on their website, still you are talking about it. That shows that you are not aware on what exactly you are talking about, and at the same time you are not fully suited for the role as well. So always talk about things that you can show them that okay, I am going to change this. For example, let's say if you are saying that I am not good with time management, always tell them why do you think so, and then tell them how you are trying to overcome that. I am not good with time management, but these days I have started taking a lot of courses on time management, and I'm learning more and more about it, and I'm trying to manage my time. That is the best way of answering such questions, where you tell them the weakness, use the right words. For example, if you are a slow learner, rather than saying slow learner, you can say I take time to learn new things. There's always a better way of saying something. So rather than using the negative words, use the positive words, and then establish that how you are trying to overcome that particular weakness. For example, if you feel that you are a too perfectionist and that's a weakness, you can say that I'm a perfectionist, that's why I spend a lot of time in learning new things. So that is my weakness. But again, I'm trying to do a lot of courses, or maybe I'm trying to talk to people, talk to managers, and I'm trying to solve this problem. Always give a particular solution, that how you are trying to overcome your weakness as well. Then why should we hire you? This is also one common question which is asked in interviews, that why should we hire you? The main thing is, the here you have to build a relationship between your career goals and the organizational goals. What are the goals of the organization? What do the organization wants to achieve? And how you can align it with your career goals, that okay, this is where the organization is trying to reach in next 5 years, and that's what I want to do with my career, so I feel I will be able to contribute to this particular company. So you have to establish that relationship between your goals and the organizational goals, and at the same time talk about what are the skills which are needed in that job, and what of those skills you possess. Let's say you are applying for a job of software engineer, so you'll say that this job is for software engineer, where let's say this and this particular skill is required, and I have that skill. I had done a project in this domain, I have also done a course in this domain, an online course in this domain, I have done an internship in this domain. So always build that relationship and you will be good to go. So that's how you answer business questions in interviews. Whenever you're sitting for any interview, management interview or technical interview, all these questions are very, very common. So make sure you're fully prepared for these questions and then you answer it. So now let me give you a simple example of this. Tell me about yourself. How do you answer that? How do you introduce yourself? So if you look at this example, that I'm Rohit. I'm originally from Karnal, Haryana. Currently, I'm staying in Bangalore. I pursued my graduation in commerce, where I particularly enjoyed studying financial management and marketing. So if you see, this is not extended. This is very, very precise. The person is telling his name. He's telling where he's from, where he's staying currently, three lines about personal stuff, and directly the person is jumping onto the educational background where he's telling that I had done my graduation in this and this domain from this and this college. During my college, I scored this CGPA. If your CGPA is good, you can definitely mention it in your introduction. But if it is not that good, you can skip that, because anyway it is written in your resume and the interviewer is not asking you about your CGPA specifically. So you can skip it. And I was in the top 5% scorers of my class. I realized that I was passionate about pursuing my career in finance during my college days and started reading more and more about it. So the person is trying to establish how he started getting interested in that particular area for which he is applying. Let's say this person is applying for a role in some finance department as a financial analyst or something like that. Then this person can definitely relate his career with the organization, with the job vacancy. And that is what I was talking about. When you are asked about introduction, this is a very good tool you have. In those 2 3 minutes, you can set the tone for the rest of the interview. Based upon your introduction, the interviewer is going to ask you next set of questions. So make sure you always prepare an answer for your introduction. Then this person is saying, I love to read books on private equity and market dynamics as well. And I was also a part of various clubs and committees at my college, such as debating society and editor for college magazine. This showcases that I have great communication and writing skills. This person could have easily said that my communication skills are good and my writing skills are good. But rather than saying that simply, this person is actually giving a lot of examples that I was a part of this, I did this, and that's why I feel I'm good with communication, I'm good with my writing skills. So that is always a best way. Always give an example, justify whatever skill you are talking about. In my free time, I love to sketch and watch different crime shows on Netflix. So this person, he started with some personal information with his name, where he's from, then about his education background, then whatever experience, project, anything that he has done, and then finally he's talking about his passion, interest, and how he's interested in finance. So it is fully staged and very small, very precise. So that's the best way. It is simply for a fresher itself. So you can also, make your introduction like this, and you can speak in interviews. Now let me give you some examples for strengths. I would actually suggest all of you to take a screenshot of these things, because this will be very, very important when you are talking about your strengths. So always, keep these things in mind. You can use any of these words if you actually feel that you possess these strengths. If your communication skills, presentation skills, writing skills, team player, hardworking, let's say you're applying to some sales role, then patience, persuasive, empathy, these are very good skills. These are very good strengths that you must have if you are going in the sales team. Negotiation skills is also one of them. If you are applying for human resource management, there also it is very, very important. If you're applying for software engineer role, or maybe web development, any of these roles, technical roles, then problem solving, analytical skills, detail oriented, all these skills are very, very important. So always find out what are the skills that you have, what are the skills which are required for a particular role, and how can you actually mention some of those skills, and you can establish a relationship between two things. If you're applying for a software engineer role, you go to the interview and you say that I'm good with editing images. That makes no sense, because that is not relevant for the job that you are applying for. Whatever is the job, whatever job vacancy you are applying for, based upon the skills required in that job, you have to establish that relationship and you have to talk about your strengths. Then in weaknesses, you can talk about, don't talk about something which is extreme, that I am an introvert, I am an extrovert, I cannot do anything, I cannot manage my anger. All those things you don't have to talk about, because these are extreme. Be very polite, courteous, and at the same time make sure whatever you are saying, you give them a particular reasoning about it as well, that's why you feel it is your weakness and how you are trying to overcome it. For example, self criticism, public speaking, easily distracted, perfectionist, risk averse. I don't take a lot of risks, but these days I'm trying to talk to my seniors, and I'm trying to think how I can take risks, and it only help. I'm trying to learn more about it. So always try these kind of answers. Then overconfident, all these things, these are not proper weaknesses, but you can talk to the talk to your interview about these things as weaknesses, and then establish that okay, that's why you feel you are actually going to get better in this particular area, because you are working on it. Maybe you are doing a course, you are talking to your managers about it, you are trying to improve on all these things. That is extremely important. And these are certain words that you can use as it is in your interviews. For example, giving opinion. In addition to, if you are giving any opinion in an interview, you are talking about something, you are discussing something, there will be a lot of instances where you will have to give your opinion. So you can use these sentences such as, in addition to what you are saying, I would like to add this, or my views on this are, I would like to think it from this perspective. All these sentences you can use. Then if you do not know, let's say in an interview there are so many instances where you do not know about the particular thing that the interviewer has asked you about. So rather than building a story about it and just saying and then not giving a proper answer, you can simply say, I'm sorry, I'm not sure about this. This shows that you are self-aware and you take responsibility of things that you are fully aware of, which is a good thing. This is new to me, I need to look it up. These things you can definitely say. It's nobody will assume that you know each and everything. Whatever role you are applying for, nobody will expect you to know each and everything. People just want you to know a little bit, and then they can help you out with that. But if you do not know, simply say, I'm sorry, I need to look it up, or I'm sorry, I'm not sure about it. Then to disagree. Sometimes in interviews you're asked about your opinion, then the interviewer will give their opinion as well. You're supposed to have a discussion, but you have to disagree. How will you disagree? Rather than saying I disagree, you can simply say, I see it differently, may I share my perspective. This is a polite, this is a courteous way of saying the same thing. You're disagreeing, but in a very polite way. Then to ask for time. Sometimes a question is asked and you are not fully sure. Then in that particular case, don't just start blabbering immediately. Take some time, think about it, and then answer. So ask for time. You can simply say, I would like a few seconds to recollect my thoughts. Or you can say, could I take a moment to think about it and then I would like to answer. Can I take 1 minute to think about it and then answer? You can simply ask these things and then you can answer. It is much better than saying taking a lot of pauses. It's always better to recollect your thoughts and then talk. Now let's talk about writing business emails. But before we start with that, again, I would just like to remind you guys that if you have any queries, any questions, please put it in the chat box. And if you do not have any queries, I'm asking you, please let me know in the chat box that you do not have any queries. Please write no doubts in the chat box if you have no doubts. But if you have doubts, please put it in the chat box and I will take all those queries either at the end of this session or in the middle as well. Right? So let's start with writing business emails now. So here I'll be telling you what are the different components of emails and how exactly you should write an email. But before that, let me give you some important points that you should definitely keep in your mind when you are writing a business email. Maybe to your client, maybe to your manager, maybe to your colleague. What are certain things that you should definitely keep in your mind? Number one, always have a professional email address. If you are in any company, you will be given a mail ID from the company itself, so that will not be an issue. But let's say you are sending your resume to some HR, you are sending your, some cover letter to somebody, you are trying to find a research internship in some college, you are sending, some letters, some cover letters, some statement of purpose to the professors. In any business setting, if you are sending a mail, always have a professional email ID. What do I mean by that? So there are a lot of people, I get a lot of emails where students name are cooldude@gmail.com, or maybe some different names, weird names with a lot of numbers in it and a lot of weird things. So that is not recommendable, because when you're sending an email, the first thing that the person is going to see is your name and your email itself. So always make sure you have a professional email ID. So you can, for example, let's say my name is Shantanu Rana. So I can write shantanurana@gmail.com, Shantanu Rana 6724, whatever. If that is not available, just add a number @gmail.com, something like that. But make sure it is professional. You are not adding words such as cool and all these words are not at all necessary. Then always have a subject line. I see a lot of people, they don't write the subject line. In that case, there are very high chances that your email will go to the spam folder of the recipient, and that is not something which we want. So make sure you always add a subject line, then always add words of thanks. Once you are done with writing the mail, always write thanks and regards or best regards and write your basic details. Then don't send until you read and check your message. Sometimes we have this tendency to just write a mail and immediately send it, and we'll forget to attach something, or we'll forget to check for grammar. So always whenever you're writing a mail, make it a habit that you check and then you send. So what you can do, it there's a simple trick that whenever you're writing a mail, first write the message of the mail, and at the end write the recipient. Because if you'll write the recipient, you'll write the message, you'll click on send, and the mail will be just done. You can't do anything about it, you can't undo it, right? But if you won't write the recipient name, even if your message is done, you'll click on send, it will show you that write the recipient name, write the recipient of the mail. So always make sure first you write the message, then you write the recipient. It will remind you that you have to read and then you have to send the email. Then pay attention to the culture of the reader. This is extremely important. Certain things will be very normal in your culture, in your language, but when you are sending it to somebody else, their culture is different, their principles are different. So there it can be a problem. Something which is normal for you may not be normal for them, may be very bad for them. So always think about all those things, think from that perspective, and then send the email. Don't use filler words. Email is not about writing long essays. You have to be precise. Never use filler words that, okay, rather than saying something, if you have to say, I read it, you just have to say that I read it. You don't have to say that this was read by me. Don't use these random prepositions, random words. Write in active voice very clearly. Then never use emoticons. That is also very important. Just like on WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, we use those emoticons and emojis that should not be used on email at all. Then try to avoid these words: must, should, demand, necessity. Why? Because this shows that you are trying to be very authoritative, which may not be a very good thing in certain cultures. So always try to avoid these words. These may look a little harsh. When you're sending a message, the person is not seeing you, they do not know what is your tone. So in order to show them that your tone is polite, try to avoid these words such as must. You must do this, you should do this. Avoid this thing. Rather you can say it can be done by you, or you can do it, something like that. Just find a better way of saying that you could do it, rather than saying you must do it. So that makes it a little harsh, which can be avoided. Now, there are four main parts of email, but before that, let me take a few queries if there are any. So I see Rajesh, Pink City Vlogger are saying no doubts. That is great. If you have no doubts, perfect. How long this session is gonna be? Aksh, this session is supposed to be for 1 hour. We started at 4. We are going to end at around 5. It can extend a little bit though, but yeah, around 5. Sahana, I don't have any doubts. Thank you. Okay, perfect, guys. Thank you so much for confirming. Again, any questions, put it in the chat box. I'll be more than happy to help. So, whenever you're writing an email, there are four main parts of it. Number one, subject line, greeting, email text, and then finally closing. So whatever you're sending, there's a subject line option. That is the first thing that you should pay attention to. Then whatever greeting, good morning, hi, hello, whatever you're saying, dear Professor Smith, anything, those things are your greeting. Then email text, the actual message that you are writing. And then finally, thanks and regards, best regards, all of those things are nothing but your closing. So subject line, it should be brief, clear and direct, not more than 5 to 7 words. It should include keywords related to the topic, capitalize all the words except preposition, or follow a same structure. Then examples for this can be, let's say you are introducing yourself to a new team member, to a new classmate, college, in your college you got somebody and you want to write a mail to them. If you want to introduce yourself, you can simply write introduction Arvind Kumar if your name is Arvind, and in the mail you can write. Then job applicant, if you're applying for a job, you can use this subject line. Job applicant, you can have these 2 lines. Rohan Gupta, that is your name, 2 lines, and the name of your college. So as soon as you look at your subject line, it should give a clear idea of the message of the mail. Once you look at the subject line, you should know that, okay, this mail is about this. So if you read this, introduction Arvind Kumar, you will definitely know that Arvind Kumar is introducing himself. If you get a mail with a subject line this, you will definitely know that there's a person, Rohan Gupta from NIT Durgapur College, who's applying to a job. and then you can open it. Then meeting request for next week, weekly report, this. So all these are nothing but your examples of email subjects basically. What is the difference between resume and cover letter, Ankit? So these days nobody will generally ask you for a cover letter if you are applying for any college. Let's say you are applying for some MBA program, master's program in some foreign university abroad, or you are applying for some research internship in, let's say, IITs, IIMs. In that case, a statement of purpose or a cover letter may be required. But generally, a cover letter is not required when you are applying for jobs in some other companies or organizations in general. All right. So Ujjwala is asking me, please test case of big programming question, how to understand aptitude test. Okay, so Ujjwala, we have already taken a session on aptitude rounds where where my colleagues told you about how to solve guesstimates and puzzles. But you don't have to worry about it. Go to our YouTube channel and you will definitely be able to find a lot of content related to that. So I would actually suggest this to each one of you. Go to our page, Great Learning Academy. You can find a lot of free courses from there, and you can get a certificate after doing those courses as well. And then you can go to YouTube, you can just search Great Learning, you can subscribe to our channel, press the bell icon, and you will be able to get all the updates. We keep having these sessions. Today I'm taking session on business English. Tomorrow also we'll be taking a lot of sessions. Every day we have these live sessions. We have a lot of content in general. We upload a lot of content on our YouTube page. So I would request all of you to go to our YouTube channel, subscribe. That will only help you, and you will be able to see a lot of this type of content, right? So you will be able to get some information regarding aptitude test, guesstimates, all those things as well, right? So let's move ahead. Now, second thing is, once you have written the subject line is greeting, your greeting should be formal. Use gender non-specific titles if you are not certain. If you are writing a mail to somebody and you do not know whether that person is a male, female, then you can simply, write something which is not gender specific. For example, dear Professor Smith, dear sir, dear madam, to whom it may concern. If you are writing a mail to, let's say, some regarding your flight ticket, you have to write a mail to Indigo. You have to write a mail to Jet Airways. In that case, you do not know whether you are writing it to a team, to a person. Gender is also not specified, so you can simply write to whom it may concern. Then dear sales team, dear members of committee, depending upon whether you are sending it to one person or to a group, you can use all these titles, right? This is about your greeting. Then talk about email text. Email text includes the main message and all the necessary details. Email text should have 1 to 3 paragraphs. No paragraph should be more than 3 4 sentences long. You have to be very precise. Once you have written the mail, always read it, recheck it, and remove all the sentences which are not important. There are three main parts of the email text. Number one, introduction. Why are you writing the mail? That has to be sent, that has to be written in the introduction part. For example, my name is Saurabh Kumar and I am the general manager at XYZ organization. I'm delighted to inform you that we are now offering a 30% discount on our entire inventory. In just one line, this person is introducing himself and he is also telling what is the cause of writing this mail. So that should be in the first paragraph. You should introduce yourself, that who you are if you are writing it for the first time, and then you have to write the motive of that email, why you are writing it. You have to establish that. Then development, write the purpose of the email in detail, why you are writing it, that is done. Then you should answer all those WH questions: what, when, why, where, how, who all are included. All the necessary information, put it in the second paragraph. Then finally, thank you for your interest in our catalogs. Whatever, you just conclude everything in the third paragraph and it's done. It should be as simple as that. Then finally, once the email text is written, you close the email, keep it short and simple. You can simply write regards, or you can write best regards, or you can write thanks and regards with your name and contact details. For example, best regards Amitabh Verma, and whatever is the your phone number, your any detail. Let's say you want to write your LinkedIn ID, you want to write your email ID, anything you can mention over here. I would suggest you to just write best regards or thanks and regards, name, and then followed by your phone number. Now let's talk about business phone calls. But again, before that, if you have any questions, let me know. Right, I don't see any new questions. If you guys have any questions, keep putting it in the chat box. So now business phone calls. There are again some important points that I would like to highlight over here. Number one, second or third ring is the ideal time to pick up the phone. Why am I saying that? A lot of you may think that if I'm getting a call, I can easily pick it up. Why do I need to wait for the second or the third ring? So generally, when a person is calling you, they do not expect you to pick it up in the first call itself. Take your example. If you're calling somebody, do you expect the other person to be on their phone and just immediately pick up the call? No, right? So definitely you should wait for a minute or two. I mean, wait for like two, three rings, so that once you pick up, the other person is not confused. They should be clear as well, right? So thinking about that, just the ideal time to pick up a call is second or the third ring. There are pleasant greetings such as hello, good morning, good afternoon should be used while answering the phone. Just like when I started this session, the first thing that I told you was a very good evening to all of you. Right, so that's how you start. Whenever you're starting something, you're talking to anyone on call, you're taking a presentation, anything related to that, always start with the hello, good evening, good morning, depending upon the time. Always greet the next party, the next person, and then move forward with whatever you have to say. Then following the greeting, the person should state his or her name and the name of the company. So I see a lot of people, they call me and they are like, hi, good evening, sir. May I know your name? And the first question that comes to my mind is, why should I tell you my name? Right. So before you ask for somebody's introduction, always introduce yourself. If you're calling somebody for the first time, always make sure that you greet them, you tell them about you, and then you ask them anything. That, hello, my name is Saurabh, and I'm calling you from the sales team of this and this organization. I wanted to know about this and this thing. Can I please know more about that? Before asking any question, give a proper introduction about yourself and greet them properly. Then do not transfer a call without first telling the person on the other end of the line and obtaining their permission. So in business setting, most of the times what happens is somebody will call you, but you're not the right person for that. So you have to transfer that call to somebody else. So without telling them, do not transfer the call. Always tell them that I'm not the right person for this concern. Can I connect your call with Mr. XYZ? And then you connect that person with that particular team or with that particular person who's concerned with that matter. Then if you need to put someone on hold, make sure you get their permission first. If for example, let's say somebody is asking you, can you please check that sheet and let me know what exactly is written over there, and you have to check the sheet. So you just can't be like, okay, and you put the phone on hold and you start doing your work on laptop. You always have to tell them like, okay, give me 2 minutes, I'll check it on the sheet and I'll get back to you. I'm keeping you on hold. Then keep them on hold. Always inform, then keep them on hold, or then transfer the call. Then don't interrupt the caller, listen patiently. Say whatever you have to say, but at the same time be an active listener. Whatever the other party, other person has to say, listen to that carefully. While you are eating, chewing, or drinking, don't answer the phone. That is a given even in a personal setting as well. If you are eating, chewing, drinking, do not answer the phone call. That is never a good way, because it will be very disturbing for the other party to listen to all those sounds. Now, moving forward, let me give you some common phrases that you can definitely use when you're calling somebody. Number one, hello, Arjun here. Whenever you're talking to somebody, you can introduce like this. Hello, Arjun here. Hi, I am, if it is a little informal, if it is very formal, you can say, very good evening, my name is this. Then, hello, Ramya, this is Arjun calling from XYZ Private Limited. May I know who am I speaking with? If somebody is calling you and you do not know who's that person and you want to ask them, who's he or who's she, you can simply say, may I know who am I speaking with? Then, may I speak to Mr. Sharma in the HR department, please? These are some examples that you can use as it is. One moment, please. I'll see if he is available. If you have to transfer a call, before that, you have to check with the person as well. So you can say, one moment, please. I'll see if he is available or not. Then, could you kindly say that again? If you could not hear somebody, you can simply say, pardon me, or you can say, could you kindly say that again? Or could you please spell it for me? Generally, if you have ever seen it, I have seen it personally. If you are let's say you are talking to some flight, you have a ticket and you have some query, you wanna clear it. The first thing they ask is your PNR number. So if they are asking your PNR number, you should not say GHIVK. You should always say G for this, H for this, that way. So that is very easy for the other person to understand. So always spell whatever if there is any tricky word or anything like that. Please hold for just a minute, I have an important call. So if you get an important call and you have to pick it up, so always inform the person before attending that call. Then, Sneha is busy right now, would you like to leave a message? If you are, let's say you want to talk, the other person is saying that connect me with that person, but that person is busy, then you can simply say that that person is busy right now, would you like to leave a message, and I would pass that message to that person. Then thanks for calling, bye for now, or I'll talk to you again soon, bye Julia. Whenever you have to cut the call, don't just cut it abruptly. Always say thanks for calling, or always say I'll talk to you soon, bye. Thank you for talking to me patiently, or whatever the matter was. Based upon that, thank the other person for listening to you and then cut the call. That's always a polite way to end the discussion, right? Again, moving forward now, business English for negotiation. So always whenever you are negotiating, let's say you are sitting in an interview, the interviewer is asking about your salary negotiation. The interviewer is saying how much are you expecting, how will you have that kind of conversation? Or if you are talking with a client and you have to negotiate, how will you do that? Always have a clear objective, have an understanding of your leverage. You can't simply say, let's say you are sitting for a role which is according to industry standards, that is 6 lakhs per annum. You cannot simply go there and say I am expecting 23 lakhs per annum, because you should know, you should have a basic understanding of industry standards, of the leverage that you can ask for. Then understand the expectations from the other party, always do a little bit of research, then identify common goals and areas of compromise. It's about collaboration. Think about the other person, think about yourself, be firm with whatever you are saying, and then negotiate. Your objective should be clear. You don't have to hurt the other person, you don't have to be personal about anything, but at the same time whatever you are saying should make a lot of sense to the other person, so that they can actually empathize with you and actually listen to you. For example, is that number flexible at all? Let's say you go to some interview, you are discussing with the HR about your salary. They say that the your salary we have decided is 7 lakhs per annum. So you can simply say, is that number flexible at all? You can ask them. That's the way to start negotiation. Then if you can do that, I am on board. This is something, for example, they are saying like, okay, we can extend it to 8 lakhs per annum. You can say, okay, if you can do that, I am on board. That means if you can do that, I am in, I'm gonna go for this job, I'm gonna do it. Then I'd like to suggest a solution. If there's a difference of opinion, that this person is saying something else, the other person is saying something else, and you are trying to negotiate at the same time, you can say I'd like to suggest a solution. What we can do is we'll listen this part of your conversation, this part of your conversation, and this is something that we can do. So when you're suggesting a solution, don't directly jump to that. First establish, say let's consider some alternatives, or let me suggest this solution, and then start with that. Then I understand your point, but one size does not necessarily fit all. This is also something which you can use, that I understand your point, I empathize with you, I get what you are saying, but one size will not fit all. So I have some alternatives for that. Or at the end, once our conversation is done, you can say let's summarize our discussion to see if we are on the same page. What do I mean when I say we are on the same page? That means we are understanding each other's point. Whatever the objective is, we are both aligned to that. So that's what being on the same page means, and you can definitely use it whenever you are negotiating to a client, to any interviewer, to any recruiter, anybody. Now, making presentations. So making presentations are also very common. If you are in college also, there are so many presentations that you have to give, right? And if you are in offices, then definitely you have to give a lot of presentations. So get to know your audience well in advance. That is first thing. Always know your audience, who's going to listen to you, and based upon that, design the content of your presentation. Then organize your data and present it in the easiest way possible. It should definitely be easy to understand. Choose an elegant layout for your presentation. It should not be very funky that people are looking at it, there are some yellow, green, white, blue color, just making you blind. That should not be the case. So you have to make sure you choose an elegant layout, you do your audience analysis, and then you start with the presentation. Prepare for tough questions. When you are presenting something, always anticipate questions and prepare an answer for it. If you think that somebody can ask any question about this, always prepare for those tough questions. Being prepared is always better. Then have a strong opening and a stronger closing. When you start your presentation, it should be very strong, but when you are done with your presentation, you have to close it, just wish everyone, end it with a quote or something, so that it has a good impression. As they say, whatever you're going to say at the end, that will be the first thing that the audience is going to remember. So whatever you say at the end should be very strong. So have a strong opening but stronger closing. because whatever you will say at the end will be the first thing that the audience is going to remember after your presentation. Now again, I am going to show you some common phrases. For example, hi everyone, I am Rohit from the sales team, and today I'd like to discuss about, if you are going to, represent, maybe let's say you are presenting in front of the sales team, you are presenting in front of some other team, and you have to, talk about something, then you can simply start with your introduction. If you are new to them, then on behalf of XYZ, if you are having a meeting with your clients, then you can use, these statements such as, on behalf of XYZ company, I would like to welcome you here. My talk is divided into N parts. Always talk about your agenda, whatever you are going to discuss in your meeting, in your presentation. That is also extremely important. Then I'll be glad to answer this question at the end. Before I begin, does anyone know about all these things? You can simply just take a screenshot of this particular slide, and you can use these sentences as it is. If you go to this one, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. So to summarize the important points of my talk, I would like to say this, or I would like to end my presentation with a quote. So all these things you can definitely use. So make sure whenever you're presenting, you do the basic audience analysis. Based upon that, you design the content, you anticipate the questions, prepare an answer for it, and everything should be prepared. That what kind of questions can be asked to you, how can you answer those questions, whether the meeting, the presentation that you are going to take is interactive or not. All those things should be there, and you have to prepare an answer for that. Now there are some business abbreviations that I would like to talk about, some simple, you can say short forms which are used in the office setting, which can be useful for you whenever you are sending an email to somebody, or you are talking to somebody in an office setting. So let's talk about those abbreviations. Number one is PA. Okay, I see a few questions. Okay, Rajesh is asking me, can I add my photo in my resume? So Rajesh, if your job requires your picture, in that case, it can be, it is fine if you add it, but generally it is not recommended to add your picture. Never use your picture until and unless it is asked specifically. If you're applying for software engineer role, marketing sales role, your picture is not at all required. It is not mandatory at all. What is the difference between regards and best regards? It does not matter actually. You can write regards or best regards also. It's just the way of saying things, but you can write regards or best regards. It won't make any difference. Both of these things means the same thing. Okay, what is the maximum or minimum number of those two lines we can use in our subject line? Again, Ankit, it is not, it just your subject line, the main idea. Just forget about everything. The main idea of a subject line is that everything should be clear. Nothing should be like, okay, you are not getting an idea. If I read the subject line, it should be very clear, and it should give me an idea about the message of the email. So if you are writing two double lines, three double lines, it won't be an issue. But generally your subject line should not be very long, it should be very precise. So it would be better if you just use a few lines only, and it should not look absurd. That is the main point. Right. So now talking about business abbreviations, number one is performance appraisal, that is PA, which is used, that is basically the monetary or the non-monetary benefit which is given to the employees of any organization based upon their performance. Then NWR means non-work related. So there are a lot of non-work related meetings as well, where off-topic discussions happens. So that is nothing but your NWR. Then ROI, which I feel you'll be aware of, is return on investment. Then CSR is corporate social responsibility. It is a very important term in human resources. Then these two, B2B and B2C, are again very commonly used in sales. B2B means business to business deals, and B2C means business to customers. When a business is interacting with another business, that will be B2B, and when a business or a company is interacting with directly customers or consumers, that is your B2C. Then CTA is again very important, call to action. For example, there's a sale and you're supposed to do something. Click on this link. That is nothing but your CTA, call to action. You're supposed to do something. KPI is key performance indicators. How are we going to measure your performance? What are the indicators for that? KPIs, your KPIs and KPRs. KPR is your key performance responsibilities. KPIs are your key performance indicators. Then NRN means no reply necessary. Sometimes you just want to inform the other person, you are not expecting any message from them. You can simply write your message and at the end you can say NRN. That means no reply necessary. CRM, again very important term in sales and marketing, that is customer relationship management. EOD, end of day. EOW, end of week. ASAP, this is something that we generally use on our WhatsApp, Insta as well. ASAP means as soon as possible. Just send this file as soon as possible, get these documents printed as soon as possible, join the meeting ASAP, as soon as possible. So ASAP is very commonly used. Triple O, that is OOO, is your out of office. I will be OOO, this just OOO. Somebody was asking me about subject line, right? So if you are taking a leave tomorrow, you are in an organization, you can simply write in your subject line OOO and the date of that particular day when you are taking a leave. OOO simply means out of office. Then ETA is estimated time of arrival, that the ETA for this equipment is this, ETA for that equipment is this. EOW I already mentioned, end of week. FYI means for your information. So sometimes we want to inform somebody, we want to keep somebody in loop, we can simply say FYI, this is the case, whatever is the message, FYI, that means for your information. POC means point of contact. SPOC means single point of contact, that I am the single point of contact between the interns and the company. I am the point of contact for those interns, I am the point of contact for this particular team. IMO means in my opinion. So these are certain business abbreviations which are used very commonly in emails or in business settings. So definitely you can keep a note of these things. You can just take a screenshot of your screen, and whenever you come across these terms, you can definitely understand that. So I hope each and everything is clear to you. Now I am open to questions. Whatever questions you guys have, please put it in the chat box, and I'll be more than happy to answer all those queries. Right? Please let me know in the chat box. I'll be waiting for some 5-6 minutes. I'll try to wind up all the questions, whatever I'll feel will be appropriate. So make sure you ask me relevant questions about this session that we have had. You want to know something about resumes, something about interviews, business phone calls, business emails, just write it in the chat box and I'll be more than happy to answer, right? Suraj is asking me how can I improve my English speaking. Suraj, there is no specific way. Start reading, attend a lot of courses. As I already mentioned, Great Learning Academy. Go, there are so many courses on English, conversational English, spoken English, each and everything is there. Attend those courses, get a certificate for those courses as well. Start reading books, start watching, some English shows maybe. We watch anyway a lot of things. So you can start watching some English shows so you'll have a better command over the language, right? But I would definitely suggest you to go to Great Learning Academy, do those courses. The reason behind that is because once you complete those courses, you will be getting a certificate for that as well, that you can definitely mention in your LinkedIn profile or maybe in your resume. So that will also help you, right? I see somebody has, okay. Ankit asked me two questions. One was about cover letter and resume. I told you that this is not always recommended to send your cover letter along with your resume. Generally, the companies ask only for resume. Then one more question Ankit has asked me is what is the difference between resume and the cover letter? So it's very simple. A cover letter is generally written in first form, such as I, we, you, they, that way. But in resume, you do not write I, we, and a resume is basically to give an understanding of your professional journey. But a cover letter can be about your throughout professional journey, and it is written in the form of a letter. A resume is not written in the form of a letter, but a cover letter is written in the form of a letter where you use I, we, those kind of verbs. How can we be polite in formal communication but at the same time be assertive? Shashwat is asking me very good question, Shashwat. See, business English is all about that, being polite, but at the same time, if you need to be assertive, you will have to be assertive. For example, all these things that we had discussed for negotiation. In negotiation, you cannot be extremely polite. You have to be assertive as well. So if you see these things, I understand your point, but one size does not necessarily fit all. That is a very assertive way of saying something. But at the same time, isn't it polite? It is polite. It is not harmful to anyone, but it is assertive as well. And any of these things. Let's consider some alternatives. If you are, let's say you are talking to somebody, you do not agree with them. What is the first thing that we can say? That I disagree with you. I don't think this is true. But that's a wrong way. That's not a polite way. Rather than that, the same thing we can say with different words is that I have a different perspective about is, can I share my perspective? That becomes a simple, a polite way of saying that. So it's always the words that you have to choose in order to say something that make something polite or not polite basically. If one person has less certification, then which type of resume we have to make? If you do not have so many certifications, Kash, then what you should do is don't talk about your certificates much. Rather than that, if you have any internships, you can definitely highlight that. If you had done any projects, highlight that, highlight your skills. And at the same time, I would suggest you still, it's never too late to start. Why don't you start earning some certificates? Go to Great Learning Academy. There are courses, beginner level courses. There's nothing, no knowledge is required about that particular area. You can start a few things if you want to learn a particular skill. 2 to 3 hours of courses, 1 to 2 hours of courses, all these are available on Great Learning Academy, completely free, and you can get a certificate also. So rather than asking me that how to what else to write on your resume, I would suggest you to do some courses, get certificates, and then mention it in your resume. Always a better way. All right, Shashwat is saying thank you for explaining. Thank you, Shashwat, for asking a beautiful question. Thank you, everyone, for asking so many questions. I'm really happy that you guys are interacting. So, if you guys have any questions, please put it in the chat box immediately. Otherwise, we'll just end this session. If there are no doubts, please let me know in the chat box that there are no doubts so that we can simply wind up this session. Just put it in the chat box that there are no questions. All right, Rajesh is saying no question, best class. Thank you, Rajesh, for your feedback. Thank you, everyone, for attending this session. I hope it is going to help you. Right. Thank you, everyone. No, sir. Kash is also saying thank you. Perfect, guys. A very good evening to all of you once again. Thank you so much for attending the session by Great Learning.